Hi guys, this is going to be part 3 on how to make a top-down game in the console using Python. In today's video, we'll be making and carrying out the player input so that the player is able to move around the board. So as you can see here, from the last time, if I were to play the game right now, what we have, as you can see, all we have is just a board and the player. So I'm gonna go jump straight into the video today. So we have two new functions today, which is one of them is the player input and deny move as well. And I've added in a few variables as well. So we're gonna get started on the deny move first. Deny move will be only called when we are not able to move to a certain spot on the board. So for example, we hit a wall. So we're gonna have to print some kind of statement. So I'm gonna go ahead and write global wait time and then print cannot move with some exclamation marks and time.sleep wait time. So we're going to print this cannot move and we're going to wait for 1 second. So now we're going to get started on the player input. So I'm going to remove this pass. And first of all, we need to print some simple print statements first. So first of all, I'm going to global wait time, attack range, and enemy count. So how many enemies there are in the scene. Then I'm just going to print a simple statement. I'm going to say press Q to quit. I'm going to print the player's health. So I'm going to say health, colon, space, and a comma. And I'm going to sub in player1 dot health. So remember, player 1 is our instance that we created of the player class. So we're able to access the variable of health. I'm going to get an input from the player. So I'm going to say move equals str, which means only a string, a letter can be placed inside this input statement. And I'm going to pass in input and I'm going to ask enter move. So now we want to check what has the player entered. So I'm going to check for W first. So that means the player has moved up. So I'm going to check if move equals to W. Then we want to check whether the player can move to the position or not, whether is it blocked or is there something in the way. So I'm going to be checking if board player1 dot y pose going to minus attack range and player1 dot expose. We want to check if it's not equals to an empty space. That means there's something in it. And we also want to check whether that same position dot y pose minus attack range and player1 dot expose does not equal to the exit. So the exit is an X. And as well, we want to check whether the board of the same position minus attack range and the player1 the expose does not equal to a health board, then we want to deny the move because there's something there. So else we can move. So I'm going to say board of currently player1 dot y pose and player1 dot x pose equals to nothing. So that means the current pose will be equal to nothing. Then we want to have the player1 dot y pose plus minus equals 1 because we're going up. So it kind of work. The y grid starts from going down, so we have to minus 1 to go up in that sense. And then we want to equate the board of player1 dot y pose and player1 So expose equals to player1 dot character, which means this current updated post will now be equals to the player1 dot character. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest for A, S, and D. Of course, they'll be a bit different. There'll be a plus for the attack range and on a different side for the expose. You can look up the code on my GitHub page for further references. So once I'm done, I'll be back. I'm back. So now we're going to just check whether if move is equal to Q, which means they want to quit the game, and we just simply print goodbye and then quit. Yeah, that should be about it. When we have finished the enemy kind of code, we only can implement how to attack the enemy. So as for now, we're done with the player input. So I'm just gonna save this. And now to run this, we're instead going to run this inside of a while loop so that we can always we can run the code repeatedly. So while true, I'm just going to write printboard and then get player input. And one more thing, we have to clear the console as well. So we're implementing clear console, the function, because then we can wipe the console. But the strange thing is it doesn't work in PyCharm. So I'm going to have to open up the folder where I placed main.py. So I'll do that real quick. Okay, so I've opened up the folder. And so what you're going to do is double click on where you have kind of saved it, the file name. So you can see I saved it under part1. So I'm going to double click here. I'm going to remove this. And to open our command prompt so that we can run the program, I'm going to type in cmd if you're on Windows. And I'm going to press enter. And it's going to pop up the command prompt. I can now close this folder. And then to run main.py, I'm going to call in Python and the file name. So I'm going to call it main.py. I'm going to press enter. And there we go. As you can see, there seems to be an error. We're printing two boards. Let me check back. Oh yes, I forgot. We forgot to delete this, the print board earlier. So I'm going to save it again. I'm going to check. There we go. We can actually quit. So there's a real neat move if you would like to, test this out again. So instead of having to quit the command prompt, you can always try this. So whatever you wrote in your last kind of kind of code to execute, you can to call it back. You can always press the up arrow key on your keyboard, and then you'll get it back. So just a neat move that I learned. So I'm gonna run it again. So let's try to move to the right, and there we go. The player moves to the right. So let's try to go up. So let's gonna press W. And there we go. We cannot move because there's obviously a wall blocking us. So that's going to be it for this video. I will be uploading this project to my GitHub page if you want to follow along. Part 4 will be coming out shortly. So until then, cheers.